like, hold on.
We joke about that.
We're already recording it. Technically, this is already a podcast.
Pull that shit up.
Damn it. Taking too long.
And I need that video of the monkey.
Need that video.
Tearing
That's
off
something else. We
that
could put like a TV over
opossum's
here
face.
or something,
So
so
we
we
can
could pull
watch it?
stuff up and watch stuff live.
That'd be cool.
I could.
How my mouth feels.
You got the weird mouth feel.
Got the weird mouth feel.
Yeah, boy, we're already recording. If we just want to jump in, or we could even use some of what we've already recorded.
Did one of you guys want to do an intro? Or
Let's do an intro.
Yeah. I feel like it's still kind of your podcast. You guys take the.
Happy 420, everyone!
Yeah, boy. Whoa. No.
Wait,
no
that's
dookie
not a bong
jokes.
sound.
No
That's
dookie
not a
jokes.
bong.
Oh, that's what that was?
That was me being
You
retarded.
need to clean out that bong if it sounds like that. That is
Right.
like butt.
All right, it's time to scrape resin, brother. All right, we're back here at Zach's crib, and we're doing a whole makeover on the podcast. It's now called Crossing.
The chasm.
Hold up, wait. On three, I'll add effects to this. Right, 1, 2, 3. Crossing the chasm. That's gonna sound cool. That'll sound great.
That's gonna be dope.
It already does.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love
Or
it.
I'm here with Paul and Zach, so let's get started.
Let's do it. What's today's topic? Or is there one topic? We usually kind of jump around.
We usually jump around, but I think today is a deep dive, don't you
Yeah,
think?
I do. We've been looking to do
A
a
double
deep dive
D.
for a while, and just life happened, so we've been putting it off for too long, but we got to do it today.
Well, cool. I put in a little research for this topic. Just
Yeah.
enough, hopefully.
Mr. Privileged,
Yeah.
no job.
I don't really know what
sitting
the
around
topic is.
doing
Whoa.
research thing.
Keep throwing the P word around.
I don't really know what the topic is, but I just have a bunch of...
Hey, he's got some notes
I
over
got
here. Look at
notes.
this.
Oh,
Actual
snap.
pieces of paper,
I got
like the old ones.
I got notes just of different things.
Show
I
that
might
to the
bring
camera
up.
up here. Let them see your notes. That's also
All
a
right,
change.
I'm fired. You guys.
We're trying to have video today.
I was
so
trying to
that's-
make this as
Hopefully this is
professional as
working and you're
possible.
seeing video.
It's definitely working.
If you're not seeing video and you're just hearing audio, you know we've messed something up.
Yes.
It's okay. But the topic is science and scientism.
Okay.
Science. So what is science, guys?
What is science?
Has
I
it
gotta
become
definitely-
a
Is this just
religion?
science in general, or is it how it relates to today? What?
Has it become a religion instead of a logical explanation
Yes.
of nature?
Yes.
That's the question.
I got the definition of
I was gonna say, do we have that?
scientism.
Let's do it.
I do.
Wait, is this science or scientism?
Oh, I have scientism. I have the
Go for
definition
it.
of science too.
Oh, let's do both. Let's hear both.
Knowledge gained through experience, facts, or principles gained by systemic study.
Systemic study.
Yes.
Band
I have to
name.
double check.
To me, that's more what science is. It's
Right.
not a doctrine or a list of things that are right or wrong. It's a methodology for testing what is not right. Really,
Right.
because you were saying this the other day, Matt. Isn't it? It's more about disproving than proving, because that's part of science. They kind of know
Absolutely.
they can't 100% prove anything, so all you can do is do study and study and study. And if you can't prove that you're wrong in all those studies, then you're probably right. But
Right.
you don't know for sure.
But
Yeah.
you're not proving that you're right.
Right.
It's proving that
You're
it's
not wrong so far.
Right.
And one of my favorite quotes from an actual scientist, can't remember the name, but he said, the greatest part of science is learning that you need to do more science.
Wow.
Like, you
It's
need
beautiful.
to,
True.
you've been disproven. Is like, that's actually the goal of most
The more you know, the more
real
you know you
scientists.
don't know.
Right. And then I have a couple notes here, like what makes a good scientist: honesty, open mind, skepticism,
That's a big one.
willingness to be wrong,
Oh yeah.
and asking good questions.
And I think trying to prove yourself wrong, that's a
Absolutely.
big part of science. Like, you want people to prove you wrong.
Right.
Like, you want to get to the truth of it. But I think in modern science, there's definitely more of a drive to just do what they're getting paid to do. We need more studies that show that the climate's getting hot. So only the scientists that are agreeing with this are getting paid by the governments and getting encouraged
That's
to
Dr.
do it.
Fauci.
And that's my biggest
Fauci,
problem
yes.
with that. And it's not just science, it's like every field, like especially in the creative world. Like, I am a scientist and I get paid by these corporations
Right.
to do a certain thing. Like science should be a passion, music should be a passion, art should be a passion, something that you enjoy and you feel led to share with the world and make a community around. Science is the same way.
Right.
But it's been bought out by corporations,
Absolutely.
just like music has, just like art has.
Yeah.
And that's the downfall of it.
Right.
And like that's really what made our society so special is like
It's someone having
innovation.
like the passion or desire to do that and to create for the better of society, not for money or any other type of motivations. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's more for power at this point. Or
I'll take
influence.
like not a devil's advocate, but a slightly different look at it too. I mean, to me, doing it for money is not in and of itself a problem.
Okay.
I agree.
And I think there's been a lot of great innovations that have come from the desire for money, or the desire to fill a need that people have, which leads to usually making money. But to me, the bigger issue is scientists that are paid by governments, because governments are paid through force and violence. They're not paid through people saying, yes, I want this, give me this, here's my hard-earned money, I'm going to support this. We have to give it to them no matter what. So when you're funded under that, then you're not subject to the normal free market things of like, well, if you do a bad job or, your science proves to not be accurate over and over again, we're going to stop giving you money. No, because they're just going to get that money no matter what, no matter how accurate their science is or not.
Absolutely. It creates like a monopoly. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And they have kind of created a monopoly in a lot of science too, because that's what people say is like, well, the internet or the government invented the internet and all these things, but they kind of have a monopoly of the scientists. So there wasn't a lot of free market ways to innovate,
Right. I want to read this definition of scientism.
Sorry, we got off track.
Excessive belief in the power of scientific knowledge and technique. What do you guys think of that?
Can you hit me with that again?
Excessive belief in the power of scientific knowledge and techniques.
What's the key word in that?
Belief.
Belief.
Yeah.
Is science about belief, or is it about proving
Exactly.
that something?
Amen.
Yes, yes.
Amen.
Boom! Podcast's over. We did
Yes.
it. We cracked that egg.
But how do you guys think that relates to with COVID and everything going on now?
Here comes Zach's enormous amount of research that he did yesterday.
Did you want to read what you looked
We can
up?
jump in. I mean, this is a lot.
Look,
well, not a
get
lot,
into it,
but
get into
I
it.
don't want to just dominate, so I can give little bits out kind of as we
Yeah,
go.
I'm sure you wanted to touch on just the elites already being very well versed in this idea that science is the new religion,
Right.
and that they are using humanity basically as guinea pigs, and that they want to rebuild the world as like they basically want humans to evolve into gods, and they believe that's happening, and they are taking on a godlike mentality of like, these people should live, these people are gonna die, it's just gonna happen, and we don't
So
really care
basically,
about
like,
them, and we can just do
transhumanism.
whatever transhuman.
Yeah.
basically.
You again, they don't know what I've researched here exactly, but Matt just kind of set up all of it very
Oops.
succinctly. No, that was perfect. That was a perfect segue.
I'm sure we've done similar research. So.
Well, this kind of goes back to an idea that, as far as I can tell, kind of came out of the 30s, the 1930s. So going back a little ways, I think it was this is not a huge part of my research, but when it first started, it was more of just a movement of people that were excited about something, and there was actually a political party in America under Technocracy, about the Technocracy Party. So wanting scientists to rule us, basically, and scientism to, own the political discourse and kind of guide society by their genius and their scientific
and
methods.
connected to that, there was also a rule of eugenics back then.
Oh yeah, eugenics was a
absolutely.
big thing.
Which, do we have a
Hitler-
definition of eugenics?
I don't have that one.
I can look it up here.
I don't have
Let's
that.
do
I
that.
wish I had that one.
Please.
Let me pull it up.
because it's
I was just
very
going to say that
important
was
to
a
this
big
whole
part
thing.
of Hitler's reign, and I know Hitler
He was
got a lot of
influenced.
his ideas from America. A lot of the eugenics movement was very popular here. Oh, I'm sorry, what am I looking up? Eugenics.
EU.
That's a big word. Oh, here we go. Talk amongst yourselves.
Wasn't Gates' dad involved with eugenics?
Oh,
I think he was.
Yeah,
All right,
yeah.
definition of
Helped
Set up
eugenics.
Planned Parenthood.
Yeah.
Eugenics, the practice or advocacy of controlled selective breeding of human populations, as in sterilization, to improve the population's genetic composition.
Wow.
Yeah. A half century ago,
It
eugenics
sounds
became
okay
associated with Hitler.
if you think
genocide.
about it in a way.
Trying
Does
to
it-
do better for a
Does it?
society.
Well, yeah.
Is that where the Spartans
so.
were doing when they?
We need a better society, so
Right.
Well, remember back in
Destroy the
Sparta,
bad
they would do the same
genetics.
thing for the kids who weren't.
Oh yeah, and they controlled you from like birth to like become a soldier,
Yeah.
and you were separated from your
Only the
parents.
strong
Yeah.
survived. Yeah.
it's psychopaths who are leading this. They're like,
Yeah.
we must have the best
Create
genetics.
the.
When they think, and they probably a lot of them do convince themselves that they're doing good, and they're also,
I
like you
think
said, they're
that's really true.
psychopaths, so they're lacking true empathy, so they're kind of like faking it, but thinking that they're helping the world. You know,
I
in a
almost
lot of
feel for
ways.
them.
Yeah.
Like,
Do you
and
think
I've
they
gotten
were,
to that
do
point.
you think they were thinking like they didn't want any children to suffer or going through like life with
they're
disabilities?
like it's
from that.
you got to break some eggs, you know, to make an omelet. You know, like, yeah, this might
That's
hurt
how
people
they
in the
feel,
short
yeah.
term, but in the long term, this will be great for the earth and for humanity.
Yeah.
And
But the
And
problem is that
it'll
you
usher in
can't,
utopia.
the problem is you can't get rid of suffering in life.
No.
Those two coincide.
Impossible.
Right.
Life is suffering,
Yep,
as the
absolutely.
the
Buddha.
classic.
Exactly.
And something we have to consider with this subject is science fiction, which I know you love.
Yeah. Love it.
And
Love it.
that's what we're dealing with here is we're literally dealing with elite science fiction authors, including Aldous Huxley,
Aldous Huxley,
whose
Orson Welles,
father
or sorry, H.G. Wells. Sorry,
Yes.
and actually, I have on here too a book that he.
both of them.
If you want to look up this book, this will go into kind of everything we're covering too. It's called The Open Conspiracy: Blueprints for a World Revolution by H.G. Wells, published in 1928.
Mhm.
And he was talking about an open conspiracy among elite. He's like, what we're doing is good for people. Why are we hiding it?
Yeah,
We just
it's-
need to
it's
come out
something
and
that-
tell them what we're doing.
They tell us in all the books, like, and Thomas Huxley, who was the father of Aldous Huxley, was one of the heads of this eugenics movement and stuff. And then Aldous Huxley wrote openly, constantly about drugging the public and completely
Yeah.
reforming their minds and mind control. They
He called that the final revolution. Would be when
Yeah,
when
exactly.
people
It's-
would love their servitude because they would just be so drugged up and
Wow.
happy.
well, it's about conquering the mind.
Let me get in.
We don't need to have war anymore. It's a war on your
Self.
mental
yeah.
state.
All right.
Here, real quick, let me get this first point out of the way in a quote that actually ties in directly with what you were saying. But we've been kind of vague about the specifics here, but I'm going to get specifically into one of these elites who probably a lot of people have heard of. He's kind of always in the news in the background. I believe he's dead now. I know I just did research. I should have looked, but his name is Zbigniew Brzezinski. Have you guys heard of this guy?
I've
Oh,
heard
yeah.
of him.
You've heard. What do you know about him, Matt?
Not much.
Not
I
much.
just know he's one
know
of
the
the
name.
one of the heads of like the CFR or something like that.
Yep, you're right. And he kind of goes back historically. So he wrote this book called "The Between Two Ages: America's Role in the Technotronic Era." He wrote this in the early 70s. And then shortly after that, he became Jimmy Carter's national security advisor in 1977. So he was like high up in the American government. And then, like you said, shortly after that, he was a founding member and maybe the main founding member of the Trilateral Commission, which is like the CFR, but like internationally.
I just read he did die on May 26th, 2017.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
pretty recently. So I have a quote from him here. This is kind of describing the technotronic revolution that he's talking about, which is basically technocracy, which I think we're in the middle of, like right now, because you were bringing up, Paul, how does this tie in with the global pandemic?
Yes, absolutely.
And it ties in with the global warming, climate crisis, climate emergency. I think they officially upgraded it now. You have to call it the climate emergency. But so this is a quote from his book, Between Two Ages. So the technotronic revolution is described as the imminent third revolution in society following the agrarian, which I believe was when farming, and the industrial revolution, which was, you know what that was. So all aspects of life are influenced and controlled by computerized databases and scientific intervention. Sounds like something very familiar.
Yep.
The increasing availability of biochemical means of human control augment the political scope of consciously chosen direction, and thereby also the pressures to direct, to choose, and to change. Further, in the technotronic society, the trends seem to be towards aggregating the individual support of millions of unorganized citizens who are easily within the reach of magnetic and attractive personalities. So he's talking about influencing society and effectively exploiting the latest communication techniques to manipulate emotion and control reason.
Wow.
In addition, I mean, he's not hiding it. Like, this is pretty friggin' in your face.
Nobody's going to read this except
you.
for
Nerds.
smart
And actually,
people.
this book is out of print and has been since he worked for Jimmy Carter. So he actively has tried to
When
get
did
this
he
out.
write this book?
In the 70s, early
Wow.
70s. In addition, it may be possible and tempting, I guess it's tempting him, to exploit the strategic political purposes for fruits of research on the brain and on human behavior. And then a short paragraph. The technotronic revolution will enable the scientific elite to steer the society effectively without the meddlesome presence of such drawbacks as workers' unions and diversity of thought and action. Like, what? So he's saying, we've got to get rid of those troublesome diversity of thought. He thinks this will lead, this is actually someone quoting him, so this is the other person's words in here. He says he thinks this will lead to an eventual union of man as the class of transnational elites who are highly internationalist or globalist in spirit and outlook, network the world together. So he's talking about how all the elites are going to work together to make this happen, even though they seem like they're in different countries and they have different goals. They're actually all working towards the same.
Are we kind of already there now?
Oh, we're in the I think we're in the very middle of it.
I mean, just look at Jacksonville right now. The new developments that are happening are literally strip malls being built with condos and apartments built on top. That's what they want you to be living in. They want you to be able to be in a city where it's so compact, and they'll say, "Oh, it's because of climate change."
Yeah, you're helping lower your carbon emission.
Everything to that, and you're just going to
everything is for safety. They use
suffocated in this little.
It's for your own good, Paul. What are you talking about? It's for your own good. It's for the children, Paul.
Right.
Don't you love the children?
But no, seriously, they're literally just building apartments on top of strip malls.
right.
And that's their solution.
And that's
to
interesting you bring up apartment
carbon
because I
footprint.
just watched a YouTube video yesterday about an apartment complex in New York City that's using facial recognition for people to access the building.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That would be scary. What if it was an emergency and
That's
the
what I
computer was
thinking.
down and you couldn't get
what
in
if
your
your cat or
building?
dog is in your apartment?
Yeah, and imagine if they start
It's
saying
like a
But
bad idea.
they're doing it, and everyone in the apartment complex,
Wow.
the tenants are trying to get rid of it.
Oh, good. Yeah,
imagine
so
if they
trying
start
to-
saying that you can't enter that apartment again until you get vaccinated.
We're right there.
That's
yeah.
we're getting there.
What's
in different big
the
cities.
Google Nest? They even want to control the temperature in your home. Like, no, you can't just hit the button on the thing. We'll make it easier for you. Don't worry, we'll control it. And then when you're sleeping, it'll become 300 degrees in your house and you'll die.
It really comes
That's probably
to
extreme,
like
but
convenience is really being an inconvenience to people who want to be free.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you look at China.
Well, he even says it's an inconvenience to have free thought.
And I guess I'm gonna kind of
What about China?
hold this
Sorry, Paul.
back.
I was going to say China on the social credit score.
Oh, that's
like,
exactly it.
With the
Yeah.
facial recognition just to get on internet and to buy products and services.
Yep.
Which is the product of scientism.
Thank you,
Yes.
thank you, science.
See how that all ties
We're
in?
Thank you,
we're
science.
looking towards Bill Gates. We're looking towards all these people in lab coats. We're looking towards Big Pharma. We're looking towards Silicon Valley as the new mythology. They're the new gods that are
Right.
leading us into a new era. They're basically bringing their own level of apocalypse,
Right.
but also revelation, because they're revealing new technologies to us. So they've literally become our Antichrist in a
Right.
way.
Using fear as a mechanism to gain control as well. You know?
Yeah.
That's exactly it.
And they peddle the fear through the technology more than anything. Like,
True, the medium.
I just went outside today. You know, I saw new birds. I also saw some vultures, but,
Okay.
you know, I saw butterflies, bees. Like, everything's
Nature.
balanced
Everything
like that.
about nature.
But I can actually observe it and not just hear somebody's perspective being shoved into my eye,
Right.
you know?
But the problem with technology, it slowly happens in society without us realizing it. You know, just look at cell phones and everything. Like, just you need an email and a password to just like do simple things. You know.
But
It's
I also think like they've shoved it into our being quicker than they usually do. Like
Right.
the elites, they usually kind of just incrementally get us trained on something.
right.
It's kind of
But
ramping
with
up.
this smartphone shit, like, I remember just like taking 20 minutes to text like 3 sentences, you know,
Yeah.
like pressing
I
the
got
same
pretty
button
fast at
3
that.
times.
People have that like Skyper or like swipe and they like text
Yeah.
like so many words in 1 minute.
And now I have a son who's upset if the YouTube video has to load in like 2 seconds. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We went that far within 10 years.
I remember when it took 15 minutes to download one song
One song on
in a low
Napster.
quality MP3. Like, yeah, it's definitely moved fast.
It's moved very fast.
And that's, I mean, I love science and I love like innovation and human ingenuity. I think is beautiful. This is just like not that. It's like an evil, twisted version of that. And they're trying to use the word science because people generally, oh yeah, science is good, and they're just using that to cloak
Right.
what they're doing and make you feel good about it.
What's your
But it's
guys'
not science. It's the opposite.
opinion with that in terms of like the medical field and advancements of like someone being able to have better eyesight, hearing, using different devices for like if you had an amputated arm or a leg.
I would like it if I lost a limb.
The
It would be cool.
advancements in science and in the medical field, people be having a better life, especially with people that have disabilities.
Yeah.
I guess I'm just starting
That
to lose-
aspect of it I've opened my eye to and I'm okay with, but
Yeah.
it's like to what end? You know, we're
Yeah.
almost trying to create this superhuman.
True. Yeah, any tool could be used for good or bad. It's just dependent on how people use it, and it definitely gives them new tools to manipulate people, but it can help people.
Right.
Absolutely.
What were you saying about your mom, Matt? And then you kind of had a little bit of
Well,
info.
my mom got in a couple of accidents and hurt her back quite a bit, and the doctors prescribed her with, you know, opioid medication, basically. And she abused it for a while, and they had her on anti-anxiety stuff, they had her on anti-restless leg syndrome stuff, they had her on all this stuff, knowingly that she had hepatitis C from the last 30 years and had ammonia spread through her body and liver cirrhosis and everything. But the opioid medication that they prescribed her was hydrocodone mixed with acetaminophen,
It's very addictive.
which is, it's very addictive, but it's also incredibly bad for your liver. So she was on that for like 10 years, and all the ammonia in her body built up to where she ended up in the hospital with a freaking coma. Like, she could barely get out of it.
Man.
And it messed up her brain because all the ammonia got in her brain. She's got all these, like, nerve problems and arthritis and everything. And then they finally were like, okay, we'll get you on morphine. So they put her onto morphine for a little bit. And then she went to a different doctor. And now they got her back on.
So the only solution is just switching what drug she's on.
Exactly. It's
like,
just, how can you trust them if they're not even looking at what your situations are, and they literally make the decision to couple you with this other drug that puts you in a coma.
That's supposed to be the first rule of medicine, the Hippocratic Oath.
Yep.
First, do no harm. So they're not even doing the basic thing of like, first let's just stabilize and see, how she's doing. But no, let's just switch drugs, keep doing more things. Like
Hippocrat rhymes with hypocrite.
Hey, bada bing. But this ties into the next point too I was going to make about the medical field.
Okay.
And bring us back kind of full circle to COVID as well.
Let me just go ahead and say there are some beautiful people in the medical field.
Yeah, there is.
And I love them.
They want to do good.
No people in the medical field.
I've been screwed over time and time again by the medical field myself. And maybe that's something I can get into on your own podcast and have a little interview.
I don't know anything about that, so that, at least I don't think I do, but that would be interesting.
So, I just wanted to say there's some great people. I know several nurses.
Right.
And they're awesome.
Same here.
I know several doctors. They're great.
Yeah, most of what we're saying now is not about individual doctors or scientists. It's about the elites, that are controlling the agenda and controlling the top-down sort of stuff. It's not like scientists themselves are evil or doctors are evil.
It's also about the mind control aspect.
Yes.
Right. Like it's from the top down.
But this, I'm sure actually you guys heard about this. Do you know about Event 201?
Yes.
And how that relates to COVID? What do you guys know about Event 201?
Just that it's a drill ran by Bill Gates funded.
Yep, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation.
Yeah.
Was a big investor.
Bill and Melinda Gates funded also, I think, the CDC and the World Health Organization was
WHF was the main host, the World Health Forum. And I pulled this right off their website. So this is a quote from the World Health Forum about Event 201. And just listen to how similar this sounds to what I was saying.
It went according to plan, basically.
Well, I don't even mean it is similar to COVID, but I mean to what Zbigniew Brzezinski wrote in 1970, and compare that to what this is saying here 50 years later. So they wrote, in recent years, the world has seen a growing number of epidemic events, amounting to approximately 200 events annually. These events are increasing, and they are disruptive to health, economies, and society. Managing these events, so they're scientific managers, it's already a strain on global capacity, even absent a pandemic threat. Ooh, hope there's not a pandemic. And this was written in 2019, by the way, at the end of 2019. Experts agree that it is only a matter of time before one of these epidemics becomes global, a pandemic with potentially catastrophic consequences. A severe pandemic, which becomes Event 201, and that's the title of the event, the simulation that they put on. What would we do? This would require reliable cooperation among several industries, national governments, and key international institutions. So that's their main reason for this event, is to practice cooperating together and building what Zbigniew called a globalist and spirit outlook network that held the world together. So a network of elite, transnational elites is what he put it, that would work together in a globalist spirit. And that's literally what they're doing.
Right. Very eerie, isn't it?
Yeah.
Event 202 is going pretty well.
Yeah, I guess that's what we're in now, is
now.
The non-simulation, the one that got out.
The non-simulation.
Or
the
is
non-simulation
it? Or is it still a simulation that just people think is really happening?
I think people are really dying, and I think there is something to it.
Well, how many people die from the regular flu every year? It's not like it's not
like 50,
a deadly
60,000.
thing that
happens.
happens.
No different.
Yeah, people die.
Yeah, the flu has almost disappeared, and everyone's reason for that is that we're wearing masks.
Right. And if you look at
now, and everybody's aware.
If you look at the amount of deaths there were last year, and compared to all the other years last year, it's almost about the same in terms of like the total deaths.
Total deaths.
But you see, like, heart attacks went down, strokes went down, people dying of cancer, people dying of car accidents going down. So
yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, the numbers
people
don't align at all.
People are getting healthier because they stay home and order food from DoorDash.
It doesn't make sense at all. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't think so.
That's where us conspiracy theorists just go wild. You know, our mind just starts racing, and we just have to do a bunch of research.
Well, and speaking of Event 202, so one more quote here from the this is from this year, from the World Economic Forum, who I'm assuming is a partner of the World Health Forum. All of them are tied as well to the Trilateral Commission. They even have same members. Like you can see this on their website. You can see that there are people that are members of the Trilateral Commission that work at these organizations.
Which is connected to the CFR.
Right. Which is connected to the CFR. And the global, what's the one for money? The IMF, the International Monetary Fund, which gets like poor countries into crazy debts that they can never pay off, basically. But anyway, the World Economic Forum, Davos Agenda 2021 is what they're calling it, which Davos, I've heard of lots of different events happening there. But they say COVID-19 pandemic has demonstrated that no institution or individual alone can address the economic, environmental, social, and technological challenge of our complex, interdependent world. They're saying you can't do it alone. And all of this ties back to Marxism, too.
They're like, we actually aren't God. I'm sorry.
Right? No, that even Brignu, he talks about in his book, he praises Marx and says that we have to all cooperate, like using socialism, basically, and communism. He's just like, he just didn't get it quite right. He needed more technology. But then it says, this pandemic has accelerated systemic changes that were apparent before its inception, and the fault lines that emerged in 2020. Now, I just want to say, too, the fault lines that emerged, the biggest fault lines was the government's forcing people to shut down and lose their jobs and destroying civilization. It wasn't the pandemic that did that.
Right.
It was the governments that chose.
Well, also traumatizing children and working class people that were just afraid this is never going to end. And most of us still are. Thank God we live in Florida.
Yeah.
Where, it's not as bad as it could be in
New York or California.
New York,
They dangle it like the carrot and stick,
That's
like
exactly what it is.
Oh, you're gonna die, but hey, we'll free you if you obey our laws. Like, then they say, the fault lines that have emerged now appear critical in 2021. The time to rebuild trust and to make crucial choices. Oh, and why did rebuild trust? Did they lose a lot of trust?
Right.
Are they realizing that they kind of screwed up a little bit?
Trust.
Yeah.
Never had trust.
But the crucial choices is fast approaching as the need to reset. Oh, that's a key word. Have you heard of the global reset? To reset priorities and the urgency to reform systems grows stronger around the world. And then it goes on to say how they'll need to help keep us together so that we can overcome global warming and things like that.
So was all that written before everything actually happened?
That last paragraph is from this year. That was in response to, they're saying, because of COVID-19, made these fault lines appear in our society. We now need even more cooperation and more coming together to systematically solve all the world's problems.
Wow.
And
that idea of the global reset is from the World Economic Forum.
Oh, of course.
Yes,
so they were referencing their own joint right there. Yeah. No, it's absolutely crazy. And they just lay it all out. This is all publicly available information that I'm reading here. You can go to the World Economic Forum website and the World Health Forum website.
And if you feel like getting a little bit of a fear of the future, just go and listen to Bill Gates' TED Talks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
highly recommend
read one of their books. It's nuts.
Yeah, James Corbett work. I also recommend James Corbett from the Corbett Report.
Absolutely.
I actually watched one of his interviews in preparation with this with a guy named, I don't know if I have his name, but he wrote a book. Oh yes, I do. Patrick Wood, called Technocracy Rising, and he did an interview like 6 or 7 years ago with James talking about these issues. But he does a lot of good work. And he was recently censored on YouTube, so definitely support Corbett. You can still find it on his website and other websites other than YouTube.
Does Corbett have any documentaries or
many? And that's what he has, like a 4-part series on Bill Gates that he did recently. Yeah. He's done documentaries on oil. Okay. I need to check that website out. But he does a documentary on oil and then on the Federal Reserve, a big one on the Fed.
Have to check those out.
Yeah, really good work. I've been watching his stuff for 10 years, and I think he's been doing it for longer than that. So, yeah.
Close to 20, I think.
Yeah. But yeah, that's. I still have a little bit more research on here, but yeah, some big topics.
It's a lot to process.
It's a lot.
To be honest.
They're not trying to scare people, but look, this is just what they're telling us is out here, and we see what they're doing.
And just to bring it up, like, basically society and culture has steered us away from religion recently.
Definitely.
It's like at one point it was all religion, and that was what's controlling you, and now it's the lack of religion, but we're going to put our little spin on religion. It sounds kind of like Rome at the beginning of Christianity, if you know what I'm talking about.
Yes, eerily
biblically.
Right, how they
early
used it
Christianity
to-
was very, very revolutionary, and they did not like what they were seeing. It was communities. It was
right. People taking
healing
care of
people.
themselves.
It was literally being against the state and living outside of the state,
Right.
and supplementing themselves with
being self-sufficient.
being self-sufficient. Meant to say sufficient. But then the Roman government came and saw, wow, these people, like, they'll have their throat slit for this freaking belief.
Yeah.
Right.
Why don't we take that belief and we spread it across the land and just do it with a gun to their head?
And put their own twist
Or
on it.
a
You know?
A spear to their
make
neck
it-
at that time.
Well, no, it's true. And the people that are all helping each other and that have a belief system, are they going to be the ones that flock to the government and ask for help, or are they just going to solve their own problems? So, I mean,
Exactly.
they
That
want
makes
you to
me
be dependent.
Think about your video, watching it. That people we've been brought
I'm
up.
sorry, what video is that?
What is government?
Oh, what is government? What's
The Logical Shaman.
Oh yeah, the logic of this.
Yeah, check it
You
out.
should definitely watch it.
Like, subscribe.
Sorry, I had to
It's got
plug it.
some awesome
I had to plug
content.
it.
But yeah, you were saying like towards the end of your video that we just have a conditioned mind to think about government and that we need government, and that once we kind of separate ourselves from that mindset, we'll be able to live more prosper without government.
I 100% agree.
Yeah.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Well, and I just want to point out too, as an atheist, like that's why I find myself standing side with Christians more, because most atheists actually want big government, and it has replaced religion for a lot of people. So they're following it blindly without thinking more than a lot of religious people do. Let's be honest. A lot of Christians also follow government blindly, but I think they're way less likely to than your average atheist.
Especially the real Christians. you know?
Right.
There's a difference between being a Methodist or
Right.
a Catholic,
Which I was raised Methodist.
and
Right.
being a Christian.
True.
A Christian literally
True.
means following the path that Jesus set within the Scripture. That's all that means.
Right.
And that you believe that Christ, whether it's metaphorically or physically, died for your sins, and you can be saved and have eternal life after death. That's all that really means.
Well, and Jesus was pretty anti-religious. I mean, he fought
was.
against the religions and structures of his time, knocking over the tables of the people who were making money on
he didn't like how
sacrifices.
Judaism had
and
turned out.
Right.
At all.
that's why the and there's that meme, but it's true. The Jews are the ones that killed him because it was the rich elite Jews, not the regular people,
Yeah.
but the ones that were
because they
had
made
power and had fame and money because they were the Jewish leaders.
they made money
He
off
was overthrowing that whole system, so they
Yeah.
wanted to take him out.
because they made a monopoly on the Torah laws, like with all the
Monopoly on how to get to God is really
sacrifices and stuff.
You
Yeah.
have to. You
And
have to do this. You have to do that.
That's what Jesus
Right.
said. He's like, I didn't come to bring peace. I came to bring
a sword.
freaking sword.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's just a word of truth. That's all that means.
Right.
It's the sword of truth.
Truth is the number one. Again, coming back to modern day, that's why people like Corbett Report and Stefan Monalou and people are censored, because they are speaking truth, and people in power,
Yeah.
that's the biggest sword that they fear is truth.
Absolutely, man. Well
Exactly.
said.
But this just kind of brilliantly came to my head. But
Hit it.
Jesus came to bring the sword of truth. But what does a sword do? It splits things.
Cuts, yeah.
It cuts, which means that most people are going to look at the blood. They're going to look at the guts. They're going to look at
Oh, yeah, and they're going to get scared.
everything
Ooh,
else. They're not actually looking at the sword itself. They're looking at the destruction.
the consequences.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But that's why we're so divided in the Christian faith, is because Jesus came to bring a sword, and we're all looking at the blood and guts and like trying to figure out, why did this happen? Why did this happen?
Making things more complicated than they need to be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When it scares people away from telling the truth because they see the consequences of it, and they're like, "Ooh, I don't want any of that. I'd rather just sit at home and chill and not have to deal with that, the societal consequences of speaking the truth."
Right.
Mm-hmm. That's why a lot of Christians, they just get comfortable. You know, a lot of people.
People in general, yeah.
People.
They just
that's
get
kind of our
comfortable.
nature, though.
Yeah.
Our nature is always to lean towards comfort. You know what I mean?
That's true.
But one thing that, science has brought us is this iPhone or Android or this smartphone.
We're recording this on a phone as well.
Yes, absolutely.
And now we can literally we can be comfortable but express our discomfort at the same time. How freaking weird is that?
Yeah. And there'll always be ways. I mean, this will probably be put up on YouTube, but we're going to use many other channels because we don't trust any one channel to get the truth out there. And if we are doing anything right, we probably will have struggles with being censored.
No, we will. Even some of the stuff we've talked about could if we try to put this on YouTube, it might get taken down.
Yeah, so we'll
we
see.
have to try different avenues to get
We'll
this
see
out.
if we make it
through.
We said COVID-19 and we did not censor ourselves, so we'll see.
Exactly.
Even though I was quoting,
they're not even saying vaccine anymore. They're saying the jab.
The jab. That's so creepy. That's even creepier to me too.
My God.
They don't call it shots anymore. Yeah, they call it getting jabbed or.
That reminds me of the Jew.
Oh yeah, there's these weird terms.
Saying Jewish people.
You say the Jew.
The Jew.
You're right. No, they manipulate language to make it scarier, for sure.
Right.
Absolutely.
Nazis instead of German people or conservatives.
Right.
Well, do we want to wrap it up here? Do any other topics we want to touch on?
This has been pretty good, man. It's been loaded.
It was.
A lot of information for me, man.
Thanks. It was pretty much just quotes I got directly from the people that I'm talking about. So I'm not making anything up. Yeah, it's just it all connected very, very beautifully. Like you can see Zbigniew saying this is going to require elites coming together, and then you see the elites coming together and saying how they're doing it. So there it is.
They tell you.
Yep.
From beginning to end.
It's an open conspiracy.
And this has been
Crossing the Chasm. Crossing the Chasm.